There we go, we're all back now. Welcome back to part 2 of the Shonky Lab, where we're talking about arcades.
Hey, we're back.
We just had a little musical interlude, which everyone else couldn't hear, because we'd probably get sued.
No.
Could we get sued for 8-bit music?
No, definitely not.
Are you sure?
Well, if you could, then radio stations that I listen to, like Remix 64 and Slay Radio, would just disappear off the face of the earth.
Ah, okay.
So I'm pretty sure that it's, yeah, it comes under fair use. There you go, Andy Palastazzi said. See?
Oh, lovely.
See?
Okay, well, for people joining us late, this is the Shonky Lab. We're talking about arcades. This is Lee Metcalf.
Hello.
I am Elton McManus. You can listen to us on the Mixler, which is mixler.com/shonky-lab. And the players there, you can join the chat room, and you can also Skype in on us, which is Elton McManus, all one word.
Oh, it's technology like a radio station radioing out across the radio net.
I'm spreading my wings. And in that little break, I was thinking, wouldn't it be good to have like a little Christmas gathering of everyone?
What?
Just on Mixler. Just have a little happy Christmas type thing. Because we're getting into that sort of festive season. And I'm sure that the next time I'm recording it, it's going to be in December, the way things are going at the moment.
A shonky Christmas lab?
Yeah, why not?
Wow. Yeah, I'm up for it. I mean, obviously I'm going to be reeling from the horrors of 4 weeks of Christmas on the Black Dog, but yeah.
Yeah, that might be a bit too much, I suppose. Maybe just have like a Blues January instead, where we're all just grumpy as...
Yeah. Yeah. Are You Still Eating Your Turkey is the name of the episode, and it'll be set in February.
And we've all got to eat roses and Quality Streets while we're recording.
Everyone's nicked the green triangles. Bastards. The purple fudge diamonds.
Yeah.
Mism.
Okay, so where did we get up to on arcades?
I was doing my favourites. I did Gauntlet, and I was going to say Street Fighter, which I said about wanking injuries.
Yes, go on. Yeah. Right, yeah. Street Fighter, is that...
Street Fighter 2.
I get confused. Was Double Dragon an arcade machine?
Yes, it was.
It was, because that Street Fighter is a totally different game to Double Dragon, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I prefer the Double Dragon games.
Oh, get out.
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yeah. I love Double Dragon.
See, I could never get into Double Dragon. I mean, I got into Turtles, but then that was during the 90s when Turtle Power was at its height. But games like that and Altered Beast just did nothing for me. It was like you only had like, Jesus, 10 pixels up and down, and then the rest of it was just like standing there hoping that your punch would connect, and the punch would go through the bad guys if they were just too close.
Yeah, you kick their bottom, but you wouldn't actually kick their bottom.
No, exactly. Oh, and everyone's getting cross at me for not liking Double Dragon. Oh dear. Sorry, listeners. I'll just drink my drink.
Badger Sprite on the chat room says Double Dragon has reminded him of Golden Axe. The only time we could play it was when the fair came to town. Wow. When do fairs still come to town? Yes.
I mean, maybe not in your neck of the woods.
No, they do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You get little arcades, little open air arcades. You don't tend to get the arcades in the sort of big they did in the 80s. They in the sort of wooden boxes. You don't get the big cabinets anymore. Come with the fairs. They tend to be more of the sort of shove penny things.
Right. Okay.
Those ones. Those things which are always in the arcades where you put like a 2p in, and then you got like sort of like the two platforms moving backwards and forwards, and then it shunts them over the edge.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got a tiny hole which it lets the coins through, and if it falls either side, then it just goes into a box, like saying "ha ha ha, fuck you."
I have a confession. Me and the good lady Boudoir are addicted to the 2p push machines?
Well, I tell you what, yeah, my kids are good because you can give them like £1 and it'll last them an hour. But there's a TV show, it's actually a game show based on that now, called It's called Tipping Point, where you actually answer questions,
Right.
and if every question you answer right, you get a coin to shove in one of those machines.
Really?
Yeah, and then what happens is every time a coin goes over the edge, you get £50.
Is this like a new TV show?
Yeah, well, trust me, a year's worth of unemployment and lazy freelancing has told me this thing exists. It's taught me this thing exists.
I thought you was going to go down the road of, Japanese people get pushed into a machine and they're pushed off the edge, and then another bumper pushes them off and they fall into a big coin slot.
No. I mean, as Doreen Crafter was just saying on the Mixler chat, she said, did they make a quiz program based around the 2B game? And it's called Tipping Point, with a guy called Ben Shepherd, and it's on every day at 4:00 on ITV.
Oh, I'm going to have to go sick.
Yeah, I think it's 4:00 or 5:00, and it's weirdly addictive. It's because you sit there and you go, firstly you feel superior to the idiots who are answering the question, and then on top of that, they're answering the questions, and you're going, no, I would have had 4 coins in the bank by now to put in that machine, and then right at the end, whoever gets to the very end, they put a big coin in there. And thank you very much, Lee Metcalf's nemesis. Some of us work at 4. Yeah, fine. But they put a coin in which is extra large, and it's got a star on it. And if the star goes over, if you manage to push it from the top shelf to the bottom shelf and then out in a possible 12 coins, then you get 10 grand.
Bloody hell!
Yeah, it's really good. You should check it out. It's probably on ITV Player.
Yeah, I will. I think I might Sky Plus it or something like that, because
Tipping Point.
I don't want to get into game shows, because that's like another topic where I can talk for an hour on that sort of stuff, because Going for Gold is like the greatest one ever.
Hans Zimmer made the theme tune for that.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, there was no.
No, it was probably his early days.
Right. Okay.
But no, it was no. I've become lazy at home, man. But I won't be for very much longer. But yeah, Tipping Point, and there's Tipping Point, and straight after that is Pointless. Yeah, right, fine. And then after that you got Eggheads.
I don't like Pointless. Everyone likes Pointless. I don't like Pointless.
Oh, well, you're just wrong. But we'll talk about that in another game show thing.
Yeah.
Well, Tipping Point is not as bad as Deal or No Deal, Doreen. Deal or No Deal is the devil's box game, where you just sit there and say, oh, I'm so attached to that person over there, box number 5, will you have a 1p in there for me? While Noel Edmonds looks at you and goes, now I'm pretending to answer this phone, and it's coming from a banker, and I'm going to use it as a good excuse to insult you to your face because you're money. You're a greedy fucker. The banker says you're a tosser. Now, he's going to offer you nothing.
Right, okay, let's save this
Sorry.
for the game show episode.
Yep.
But anyway, yes, you said about cabinets that you liked.
So we had Street Fighter, and the only one was the Star Wars Vector arcade game.
Okay. Because I think I've played this. This was a huge machine. From my recollection, it was a huge machine, and the graphics were line drawings. That's
right. It was like a green wireframes, and you had a little steering wheel, and you used to tip. You had the handles which you could tip forward and back, so it made it go up and down. And then you had the steering wheel turn left and right, made it move left and right. So you had this kind of weird sort of rolling your hands kind of thing to make it roll left and right. And you had triggers.
Yeah.
Would fire the laser beams from the corners of your X-Wing, and then the back buttons on the back of the handles would fire the torpedoes.
So I can't remember any of that.
And it was literally black and green, and it would play the whole of the Death Star attack.
Because it would simulate you dropping into the trench as well.
Yeah, and
very much like the film, but with just in line drawings.
Yeah, in badly done line drawings, because it was literally just a circle with another circle and possibly a line across the middle. It was literally that basic. And you got the you got this really bad soundbite of Wedge going, "Look at the size of that thing!" Something, and you dive towards it, and the music would go do 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 do, because that was about all they could get on the sim, on the machine.
Funny enough, I think I played that in Danson Park.
Right? Oh, God, blimey!
When in inverted commas, the carnival came to town.
Make it sound like when all the carnies would just appear out of nowhere, there would be an arcade game.
Well, whenever I say that, all my vision goes sepia for some reason. I don't know why.
Little scratches across your eyes. Everyone's walking really kind of fast, like someone's not cranking it fast, not cranking the video properly.
Oh dear! But yeah, I swear it was Danson Park that I've played that. I've only ever done it once. I was only ever allowed on it, and once the credit was gone, that was it. I was out because it was far too expensive. Because I think when I played it, it was the most expensive game in the place.
Yeah, it was a proper. That was 50p, and that gave you 1 credit, and not like the one that you were talking about before, where you had to do more money to go to the next level, but it was like. It was one of those games where if you were unlucky, someone had set it on hard before turning the bloody thing on, and so you had like a shield bar which allowed you to take 4 hits, and the TIE fighters would zoom around and fire bullets at you, just like Operation Wolf. You had to shoot the bullets down. If they hit you, the screen would go red, and that'd be the end of it. You lose a shield, and yeah, that was. It was like you were constantly just blasting in every direction, not necessarily at the bad guys, because you were just trying to stop the fucking bullets all the time. And so you had the TIE fighter sequence, then you'd dive to the planet's surface, and you'd have to blow up so many towers. And then once the towers were gone, it would spin, and you'd go straight into a trench. And you'd go down the trench. You'd have to go under and over bars, which were across the trench, and again stop shooting bullets, and then you'd hit the very end and it'd go, "You're all clear, kid, there's explosive, go home," and you'd press this button and off you'd be, you blast it away. Dear.
Yeah, so, I didn't get that far in it. I think I must have curbed my it's like the equivalent of scraping your alloys in your X-Wing fighter.
Yeah,
and I think I just did that to the side of the trench wall, and lost my dad his 50p, and that was it. He wasn't pleased with that at all.
Yeah, you couldn't actually damage your X-Wing by going left and right. It was more the bars. You had to dive under the bars, and then there'd be these things on the side which were like little turrets, but they were actually just hexagons firing asterisks at you.
Right.
But I always loved that game because once I learnt to loop it, that was it. I would sit in there for hours being a Star Wars nerd because the music would sound as good as I could ever imagine at the time. It was like, and occasionally it would go a bit crazy and speed up and get too fast and go, and then it would just go wrong or go off.
Yeah, you can only dream of having something like that in your house nowadays.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting because on Mixler, Lee Metcalf's nemesis, whoever that is, has said it always annoyed me when I got in after a sweaty bugger, a bit like Afterburner, and he's right because the seat was like just a hard plastic garden chair, and if someone had been sitting on it, just ugh.
I didn't find the seat was sweaty. I found it it was the grips.
Yeah,
like either the steering wheel or the hand controls were just slimy and sweaty, and either had chip fat on them or bogies or whatever.
Yeah. Well, with the seat, it was more a case of you sat down and you'd just be like sitting in a puddle.
Oh,
when it's just that weird moist. Ugh. But anyway. Actually, I was going to ask you something.
Yep.
I was going to ask you the same thing. What cabinet games would you always go for?
Okay, well, when I went on holiday, I made a beeline to this RoboCop cabinet, and one reason was we were only given a couple of pounds to play, and that was it. That was your total for the day. Once you spent it, you spent it, and then you spent the rest of the day just lurking around the arcade machine, hoping that 10p would fall out of these push machines.
Yeah,
Or you'd hear them jingle down and think, hang on, no one's there. And 4 or 5 kids would just make a beeline to where that trough where all the 10p's would be sitting.
yeah.
Think, oh, you fucking bastard, you beat me to it. But I'd always make a beeline to the RoboCop one because it was 10p and I could get my money's worth. And I could get quite far in the game. And I also enjoyed the game as well. What other one would I make a beeline to? Operation Wolf was there, but that was a bit more expensive. But that had the cabinet where... Because there's a couple of these cabinets where you can either sit in the car and shoot, or you just stand there and the guns are connected to the cabinet itself.
Yes.
You can just move them up and down, left and right, a little bit. There's not much moving on them things.
No. There was because otherwise you'd bump into each other. But then there was always that problem of like there's a little gap in the middle of the screen where if the bad guy popped up in the middle of the screen and fired,
Yeah.
you had about 4 frames to get him before it got so close that your gun just completely missed it.
Yeah, but talking about that, I remember the little red button for the grenades that was on the gun.
Oh yeah,
And you had to hold it like a gun, and if you had any grenades, you press a little red button on the side with your thumb.
yeah,
And it's just the feel of these sort of things. I know you have these sort of arcade machines where you press a pedal and then you duck behind something and you've got the gun in your hand. And
that's Time Crisis.
is that Time Crisis? Right, okay. Couldn't stand that game. Couldn't stand that at all. I hate it with a
Why?
passion.
Why? Because especially Time Crisis 2, when the gun actually started to do the recoil action and everything. It's amazing.
See, I've never played the second one. I've played the first one, and the amount of times I've played that first level in the airport, and then you get all the bugs heading towards you on the floor. And
The what? The bug's head?
no, the bugs, you have like lots of little spiders heading towards you, and they're on the roof and ceiling and on the floor, and you
Word.
have to shoot them.
Are you sure that's not House of the Dead?
No, this is Time Crisis.
Because Time Crisis had a bug sequence, but that was Time Crisis 3 when someone sort of like a man just sort of dissolves into 1,000 bugs and they all just go flying all over the place. You have to get a shotgun version and blow them all away.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of that then.
Because that sucked. But yeah,
Yeah, because I never really enjoyed them games. I think it was just because I wasn't very good at them. But I was partial to the side-scrolling arcade machines. And the big one that I spent huge amounts of money, it wasn't in an arcade machine, arcade per se, but it was down the Chippy, down the green, which where I used to live. And it was called Shinobi.
Ah, the samurai, the ninja one.
I flipping loved that game. I spent so many pounds in that. It was ridiculous. And it got so popular between all of the guys, or everyone that used to hang around the green. It got so popular that people couldn't get into the chip shop to buy chips because there were so many people waiting to play that game or hanging around the arcade machine to play that game. And it was just so, it was a 2-player game. You had either a black ninja or a blue ninja, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it was just a side-scrolling. It was just perfect. You had like these little missions in between levels where you had to throw in stars and kill all the ninjas jumping towards you.
Yeah.
And the amount of button bashing that we went through on that, that was one of the perfect games that I ever played.
Well, they tried to recreate that a couple of times, didn't they? With things like Green Beret. Did you ever play that? Mm-hmm. Which they then translated into. That was the first arcade game that I saw translated onto a home computer.
But never quite perfectly.
No, the Spectrum one had colours that were so contrasty that they burnt your retinas out after about 5 minutes, and the 64 one just looked like someone had thrown Lego at your face. But yeah, Green Beret was the closest I got to that kind of thing. And what was the other one? Was it Grisor? No, Ikari Warriors. Do you remember that?
No, I don't know.
Ikari Warriors was kind of like two Rambo-y type guys kind of running along shooting things as per normal, but then every now and again the game would sort of cut to a different perspective where you're actually behind them looking down into a corridor.
Okay.
And you're running left and right behind a wall, but you're still like little sprites, but you're, sort of, and these things are coming out at you. And it was like, oh my word. Oh, it was like 3D. There's something coming out at you. It was just, yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Carry on.
No, almost game changers. See, that was an annoying thing about these arcade adaptions where they tried to pull them over to, let's say, the Amiga 500 and, Spectrums and stuff like that. And they never got it quite right. Like the Shinobi one, I bought that on the premise that it looked exactly the same. Now, I miss the days of going into a shop, looking at video games, flipping the box over to find out what the graphics look like. Because nowadays, the graphics are just the graphics now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Pretty much bog standard. If it's not really, really good, then you're not going to go anywhere near it.
Yeah.
But looking at the graphics and going, okay, that's close enough. I'm hoping the gameplay will be exactly the same. And it never was. Never was. And I was never more disappointed than when I bought Turtles for the Amiga 500, thinking I was getting the arcade version.
But it actually says the arcade version in very tiny text on the back of the box when it shows you the picture.
Right. Fooled again. And yet, somehow I ended up walking through sewers and, dancing over people throwing stuff at me. It's just not the same game. No,
it was terrible. It was like, was it RoboCop on the Amiga was actually based on RoboCop 3, and it was kind of this weird sort of first-person shooter, but it moved at like 4 frames a second. And you're sitting there going, no, I want an arcade game with a little chunky RoboCop walking backwards and forwards. not looking out of his eyes for a film that I don't like with a flying robot ninja.
Oh, God. You're just saying RoboCop then. I remember now, whenever you used to complete a level on the arcade version of RoboCop, he'd twirl his gun and then pop it back in his leg.
Yeah.
Because that was most amazing graphics of watching his leg come apart and then the gun come out and then close up. And you think, oh my God, that's actually RoboCop there.
Yeah, that's like a real film.
Wow, it doesn't get any better than this, does it? No.
Well, funny enough, sorry to just jump off the subject a little bit, but I just seen on the Mixler thing, Sean mentioned about Dragon's Lair, and I mentioned in reply Space Ace. Did you see either of those games?
I don't recognise them. Guys, like movies again, isn't it? No, I haven't seen that one, no.
It's fine. Well, there's so many arcades. Some you either saw because you always went to the arcades, or there was some you just never saw or heard of ever. But it's like cartoon, like an actual cartoon.
Okay.
Called Don Bluth. And what he would do, it actually was Laserdisc, and it would play a movie sequence, and at the end of the movie sequence, or just before the end of the movie sequence, there would flash up a left, a right, or up, down, or whatever, and you'd have to hit it. A bit like QuickTime events in modern games.
Yeah.
And you'd have to hit it quick enough that the Laserdisc player would read it, and then would play the next video bit. And it would keep doing this until you reach the end of the cartoon. But if you missed it by like a nanosecond, it would just stop, cut to a lost, a losing bit, a losing animation. It was just like, it looked amazing from a distance. And if you could find someone who can actually play it, because they've spent like about 50 quid on this fucking thing, going through one step at a time, it was amazing. But then you'd get on it and it'd go, dun 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 dun, and he goes, Space Ace, defender of justice, truth, and the planet Earth. Ace is, and you press the button, and because you pressed it before the game even got started, you were still in the credits. It'd go, oh, you've died.
Oh.
You're like, what? I'm just looking at the fucking credits. I've just accidentally pressed a button. But because you were essentially controlling the remote control on the laser disc, so you put 50p in, it goes, Space Ace, defender of truth, justice, and the planet. You cannot win. Oh, I've died. Oh. Fuck. The game hasn't even started yet. And then by the time you've actually registered, sort of, okay, right, I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it. And then all of a sudden, you'd be still watching it, and all of a sudden, you hit the end of the clip, and it's like, oh, you've died. And it's like, fuck! I missed the little blinky arrow thing.
Oh, my God. And what? I'm surprised that there's any screens left on these machines.
Pretty much never. I mean, me and Darren, we were on a school trip down to Margate, and I found a Space Ace machine, and the controller itself, we didn't know, had been so abused by angry people that it didn't fucking work. So, but then it made us angry because we both put money in, going, "Oh no, I know what to do this time." And they go, "Tap, tap, tap." No, it's not fucking working. And it just like the pair of us, it was just, I can imagine on some CCTV there was these, 16-year-old, 15-year-old me and a sort of, I would have been 14. 14-year-old me and a 16-year-old Darren shaking this fucking thing to death.
See, if you went to an arcade, let's say like when I went on holiday, there were arcades where certain buttons didn't work. And you got to know them pretty quickly because you were able to get into games with other people.
Mm.
But there's a reason why that space is free, because once you put your money in and start playing, the other players go, "Yeah, that button don't work."
Yeah, you'd always get one of those cocky twats who just stand there and go, "You don't know how to play this, do you? You don't know. No, if you see, you no. Why are you?" And they just keep doing that all the time. You're like, "Fuck off."
Yeah. There was like a kind of hierarchy in these arcade places. There was a time where I heard a couple of 10p pieces fall down out of one of these push machines, and I was stood right next to it. I'd just been playing on it, and I'd moved over to the next side, and it fell. And so I went back and tried to pick it, and as I grabbed it, because it was still kind of my go, another hand got in there as well and grabbed a couple, and it came to fisticuffs of hang on, no, you weren't playing that. No, but you stepped away, so really that's half of mine and half of yours. And ended up having a fight about that.
Fuck off.
But then he was bowling around with all his mates as well, and you think, oh, you're just a dickhead, man. But I was a young kid and he was towering above me. He must have been about 4 or 5 years older than me at the time. And obviously, I think he was one of the kids where his parents lived on the site or had a caravan on the site. And so knew it inside out and knew how to play all the games. Yeah,
that was the worst. I mean, was there any one game that you were just the best at? That you just knew that every time you get on it, you'd be there for hours because you could just clock it or whatever?
Okay. I was really good on the Turtles game. There was also this... I forget the name of the game. Right, I'll describe it to you, though.
Okay.
Imagine you're in like a spaceship, or like a lunar spaceship, and the floor has got coloured tiles, like blue coloured tiles cut into squares.
Yeah.
And you've got... it's like you drive up the screen and shoot stuff that pops out of the floor, like gun turrets and such.
Was it kind of at like 45 degrees, like you're at an angle?
No, it was pretty much a bird's eye view, looking straight down, but you would drive up the screen.
Right.
And you'd shoot all these turrets and get to the end, and they have like a big boss at the end. And me and a mate, Simon, we used to go in there and put £1 in there, and we used to be on there for hours because we could get so far. He was much better than me, I admit I was riding on his coattails a little bit, but we got so far. It was one of these games which you felt you were so close to the end, but never had enough money to get to the end, or weren't that good to get to the end.
I mean, because that sounds a bit like Zaxxon, but that's an isometric game.
Right.
So you were kind of... And anything else, it just sounds... It's a bit generic. Oh, the only other thing it could be... I don't know if this is maybe I'm just misremembering. Oh, God. Lee Metcalf's Nemesis just mentioned something, and we'll come back to that in a minute. Do you remember on the Commodore Amiga, you might not have had it, I don't know, there was a game called Xenon. And it was all blue metallic tiles, and you were working your way up the screen. And if you waggled the joystick...
That's it.
You waggle the joystick, you turn into a plane.
I've just had a massive flashback. That is it.
And the music would be like... No, not Xenon 2 Mega Blast, Badger. Xenon 1, the original. The original Xenon. Xenon 2 Mega Blast only came out on the Amiga, but Xenon 1 came out on the Amiga, but Commodore tried to launch their own range of arcade games. So they actually licensed Xenon, the original Xenon, and actually had it as an arcade game.
That's right, yeah, because you could get the balls at the side of your thing as like an upgrade gun.
That's it. And they would either sit to the side of you, or I think there was a version that went around you.
Oh, that's it. I used to play that. That is the game that I was, hot to trot on.
Yeah, well, that's because it was an old Commodore Amiga game, an Amiga 500 inside an arcade. So that was that. Bloody hell! Whew, my brain.
Wow.
I'm sure I've forgotten one of my children's names now.
Well, after this, I'm going to be downloading maybe a pirate copy of that, because I'm sure I ain't going down to our price to buy that version.
What? Our price to buy Xenon?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you could probably get it for free on a ROM on an Amiga 500 emulator. But the only problem is he's trying to do that with a controller now. Is that whole thing of having to hold the button and then waggle the stick to turn you into the tank mode so you could go under things.
Oh, yeah. Well, if anyone is in earshot and knows, how to get that as an emulator for a Macintosh, then, please let me know.
Yeah, piracy is bad, Lee Metcalf's Nemesis says, and we are right. We are not pirating. We are merely looking for freebie games for emulators.
Yeah, we're funding terrorism, really, by downloading old Amiga 500 games.
That's right. I want a copy of Whizball. Death to the West. But yeah. Oh, yeah. So Xenon was your thing, man. Oh,
yeah,
nice.
I flipping adored that.
Yeah, because that was made by the same people who did Speedball. Do you remember Speedball?
Ice cream.
Yeah, the Bitmap brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And they did make Xenon 2 Mega Blast.
See, did Bitmap brothers do Gods?
Yes.
I loved Gods.
Yes. The music to Gods was superb.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
Yeah, Andrew Whittaker. Sorry, I think that was. Oh no, musical. We're getting into arcade music. Let's back away before I turn into a Sid Chip nerd.
Okay, right. In arcades, apart from video games, there are other games to play. And you're a parent now, and yes, your kids love the arcades. How do you feel about the tickets?
I mean, when they're playing the arcade games, and then they get something out of it, that's fine. My problem is those tickets, when they get to the bar that sort of exchanges them for the inflatable balloon or minion rubber or whatever. Hold on. Drew Barker just said, "Hello, folks. Anyone mentioned Space Invaders?" Right at the start, Drew, about 2 hours ago. But anyway, my problem is that all the good stuff is always just out of reach.
Mm-hmm.
And last time I was in Brighton, I saw that the game's actually unsurprisingly fiddled, but they're fiddled in a way which is really kind of wrong. What they do, there's like, do you remember, Fruit Ninja on your iPhone or whatever?
Yes.
Right. There's a Fruit Ninja arcade machine in Brighton.
Okay.
And it's the best one to get tickets out of, because basically for every 10 points you get on Fruit Ninja, you get 10 tickets, which is brilliant. But what happened was, I'm really good at Fruit Ninja. Not, humble brag, but I'm really good at it. And so basically on this big arcade machine, I got like about 500 points. So, right, okay, give me fucking shitloads of tickets. Thank you very much. It was only that we started looking at counting the tickets up, because if I win the tickets, I have to split them between the kids.
Yeah.
I have to split them down. I started counting them down, and I realised that I'd been duped. And then if you look in the corner of the Fruit Ninja machine, it says 0.5. And what it is when you get large amounts of tickets coming out of a machine, what they do is they actually give you half the amount of tickets.
Oh, so they devalue them.
They devalue them. So basically, if you say, for example, 10 tickets for 10 points, 500 tickets, I should get 500 points, shouldn't I? But they set it to 0.5, so you get 250. But you get so many come out, you're sitting there going, well, I'm not going to count them. Fuck it, I've got a big handful of tickets, thanks. But what actually is happening is you're not getting enough.
Bastards.
And, and it doesn't really matter. You're walking around with 250 fucking tons of reused, recycled pink paper that doesn't mean anything. But it's still one of those things. I just don't like the fact that you suddenly find yourself going, okay, right, fine. Give me another £1. I'll go to Fruit Ninja. I'll get you another 500 tickets. And then you can buy the fucking fluffy Stuart from Minions or whatever. And it's like, actually, you just think about it. You think, well, actually, I've just done about 10 quid. I could have gone and bought one from a shop.
Yep. Yes. See, this is the problem I have with it. I'm very much like in your position where if you win some, then you have to split them between the two. And the problem I find is if I was giving the kids money and they were playing video games and entertaining themselves and enjoying themselves, that's fine. But when it becomes about collecting tickets, it takes on a different turn, because now you can see it's a for-profit type thing.
Yeah.
And when you have machines where they just dish out tickets for your skill on if you can get a tap a button when a light is illuminated, and you know for a fact that it's not quite within tolerance.
Yeah. Yes.
There are tolerances where they are like, you're never going to win this thing. And then it becomes about getting as many tickets as you can. And then that's where the problem starts, because like you said, you could just go down to the shop and buy that thing, the funny fuzzy eyes that they really want, or the glow sticks.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
It becomes annoying, and I don't like it about that. But when I was a lad, tickets weren't there.
No, but as Jack Woodgate just brought up, there it was, and there still is, those stupid fucking crane things, which the grab has nobbled.
I know a person who works taking the money out of them.
Yeah.
And yes, they can nobble them, so they're not nobbled, but they're like any like fruit machine or arcade game. They have a certain payout that they have to adhere to, and so they will sit there and just drop every single time until, let's say, the 50th time. Then it will pick up the prize and drop it, and you will win. So they are programmed to win. It's just whether you get lucky on that turn that it picks up. And that is on the clause. And I didn't even think that would happen. But yes, it's all pre-programmed.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But did you ever used to go on those things for pleasure? I mean, every arcade I've ever been in, I'm sure I've done it once and gone, oh, I'll just give it a try. I bet I could do it this time. And it'll be like, after 5 seconds, you're like, no, I'm not doing that again. I mean, did you ever go to them and just go, oh yeah, I'm going to spend like 20 quid on this thing?
I've given them a go. I haven't given them like £20 goes, but I have gone, right, I'm an adult. I can buy as many sweets as I want, and I can play as many games as I want. And if I want to drop £10 into this game to see if it will pay out, then I will. And I've done that on certain games. I haven't done it on the claw things. But then the claw, because you get used to seeing the claw game, you know that it doesn't pay out as much. And so they have to think of other ways of getting your money. And they do that this stop the lights on the red bar type game, where they have like Nintendo Wiis to win. And that just draws kids into to play.
Yeah.
But then you also have like these ones where you have the arms in the centre, and you have a table in front of you, and you're looking over a dome, and the table is spinning, and you put your money in at a certain time, and it pulls this arm out, which is supposed to knock stuff into holes or off the edge of it.
Oh yes, I've seen them. Yeah,
and they are frustrating as hell, because you think, right, okay, now, and I'm quite good at timing, and I reckon I could get that, but there's either glitches or there's programs in there where it's like, no, we're not going to do this to you.
Or the hole for the ball or whatever it is just not quite big enough, or it's just exactly big enough.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate those things. I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? Anything that promises you a prize is immediately a waste of time. Or as Drew Barker says in the Mixler chat, 30 quid in to win a £2 prize.
Mm-hmm. Been there.
In there, exactly. I mean, how much have you actually? What's the most you think you've ever spent playing an arcade? Playing in an arcade. How much money did you walk into an arcade with and then come out with zero?
Well, when I was a kid, I distinctly remember having 30 quid on me, and me and my brother were both given 30 quid each. And it was a day out. Our friends, my brother had a friend who had quite an older brother who could drive, and his sister could drive as well. And so they were taking us up to Chessington. And so my dad gave us 30 quid each. That's to get in, that's to have lunch, that's to go on all the rides you want, and a little bit of spending money if you want to buy something while you're there. Brilliant, thank you very much. We got there, and the brother and sister paid for us to get in. So straight away we're 15 quid up.
Yeah.
And then they paid for all our food, because we were like family friends.
Yeah.
And so, okay, you got two. How old was I? I must have been about 12. My brother was about 9, maybe 10. And we're 10-year-old, 12-year-olds with 30 quid in each of our pockets. What you gonna do? We walked into the arcade machines and walked out with nothing, and then got home and I had to explain it to my dad. Oh yeah, we had a really good time. Went on all the rides and everything like that. Had a really good time. Got soaking wet. Oh, okay, cool. You got any change? No, we spent it all. You had food? Yeah. We've had food. We were starving, and so they dropped us off and went home. Yeah. And I think something was said along the lines of, do we owe you any money? And they're like, oh, no, we pay for them to get in. Like, then my dad just spun around and looked at me and was like, I'm dead.
Yeah, you have been rumbled, my son.
What am I supposed to do, though?
Yeah. I have to say, the most I ever spent on that kind of thing was when I should have known better, to be honest. But as a fucking supposed grown up, my first job, my lab job, tried to get me up to some sort of qualification so they could put my name on a certificate or something for all the stuff that we did, for all the work that I was doing with them. And so they sent me to do a HND in biochemistry, which was lovely. But the problem was, at the time, because I had to do it twice, because my maths skills were shit. So I got to a point where my where basically I was actually getting lost with this course. And I actually, one Friday when I was supposed to go down to this college, I drove down and I looked on my schedule while I was sitting in traffic, and I looked at my schedule and I just went, "Oh Christ, I don't know anything about this stuff. I really haven't got a clue. It's all going to be maths theory, and I've got no skills." So I drove down, and I was supposed to go to Maidstone for this college. I drove down, and I just got about halfway down, and I just thought, I've got 40 quid in my pocket. Okay. And I just kept driving, and I went straight past the college, and I drove all the way down to Margate, and I spent all 40 quid just in an arcade in Margate for that day. As a grown-up, standing there going, I don't want to go back to the college. I don't want to go back to the college. This is the worst day of my life. Sitting there playing Nemesis, which is kind of like, it's loud. It's, it's so fucking old that, the screen's barely got any colour in it. the controllers are kind of falling off. And, yeah, a couple of months later, I had to fess up to the fact that I failed, and then they had to send me on a maths course and then send me again to do the whole thing, the whole course over again.
I think you have to have that, though, realisation that, hang on, I'm an adult. I can have ice cream for breakfast if I want. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm going to have cornflakes for dinner, and I'm going to sit in my pants and eat pizza for breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's still quite a sad sight, because it was like that was suddenly my go-to, going down to Margate with my pay packet on my own, just to sort of trudge up and down these arcades. Oh man, there's nothing sadder than empty arcades.
Oh god, yeah, it's the loneliest place in town, isn't it?
Yeah, there certainly was. It's like Friday morning. There's a person doing the hoovering, sucking all the moisture out of the carpet from the day before.
Yeah. Okay, right, we've got another 12 minutes left on this Mixler slot.
Hey.
Any disappointments? What's your biggest disappointment in arcades?
Biggest disappointment was what was the one where I sat there and went, yes, this is going to be great. I think it was one called Rampage. Do you remember a game called Rampage? Where it was a 4-player game, and you could either be a giant lizard like Godzilla, a giant monkey like King Kong, or I can't remember what the third one was. I think it was a giant wolf.
Okay.
Rampage.
I'm going to have a look.
Sean McGowan's just leapt in going, they're making a Rampage movie. And the idea was you had like 5 buildings or 10 buildings on this screen. The screen wouldn't scroll, wouldn't do anything. And what you were supposed to do was, as your big Godzilla monster, you'd walk along to the building and you'd climb up the building, and you literally had to punch. Just hit the button, and every time you hit the button, you punch the building.
Yep.
The building would get so much damage and then would collapse. And if someone poked their head out the window and you punched the window as you did it, your monster would grab them and eat them. And I thought, that's going to be absolutely brilliant. And then, and then in the meantime, you're trying to avoid like a thing driving over your head, trying to bomb you. And you'd be punching away, and it'd be like, fine. But after about the second or third level, you got to a point where you actually sat there going, I'm doing exactly the same thing. And sometimes like with arcade shooters and that kind of thing, it's monotonous, but it's still keeping your skills up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be like this, but this wasn't. This wouldn't get any more hard. It wouldn't get any less hard. It would just stay the same. So you'd be like, punch, 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 crunch. Oh, I've eaten someone. Oh, that's funny. Punch.
Different coloured buildings, different shaped buildings.
Different height buildings. Yeah, and that was pretty disappointing. The only other one was a fighting game, which was called Killer Instinct, which had 3D rendered models of monsters and dinosaurs and fighting ninjas and all that kind of stuff. And it was just like Mortal Kombat and like Street Fighter, except these things had been rendered like 3D models, and they and they looked like shit, and they didn't animate particularly well, and the fighting was awful, and no one ever played it with you because no one wanted to go near it because it didn't work properly. Yeah, between Rampage and that, but Rampage was just boring, and Killer Instinct was just fucking tedious. And the worst bit about Killer Instinct was they used it as a launch title for a console. I can't remember which one it was. I'm sure someone on the Mixler will jump up with it in a minute. But Killer Instinct was like the video game release title, and everyone's going, "Wow, look at the rendered graphics!" And it was like, "Oh, the N64. Thank you very much, Jack Woodgate." And it was just like, it was bloody awful. It was really bloody awful.
Yeah, it's like 4 frames of people thrown back, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's like 4 photographs of a person thrown back. They try and animate that. And what was it, Mortal Kombat, that they used to use that sort of...
Yeah, they did like video capture, didn't they?
Yeah.
They take video frames. But that sort of played to its limitations. The Killer Instinct was these things, you know, the fighting characters were literally like half the screen in height. They were huge. And, you know, and you've got a little square screen. You haven't got widescreen. So basically your characters were pretty much touching before you even started. You know, they were only about like 2 steps away from each other.
Yeah.
It was awful. And the only thing that had going for it was pretty graphics, which wasn't even all that, to be honest. That was disappointing. Very disappointing. What about you?
I've had one recently, which was we went down to where was it, Bognor Regis, and we stayed on the caravan site. We found a caravan site we liked, and so we kept going there. And they had an arcade machine where you get to choose the game you play.
Oh right, yeah.
And on this game, it had Mario 3.
Oh no.
And me being a slight Mario fan, I'm a fan of the original Mario Brothers on the NES. I love that game.
Yeah.
And I've played Mario 2, which was terrible.
Yeah.
Never played Mario 3. And that's the one where he gets a tail and he can shoot himself up in the air, I think it is. And
what's it called? It's called something like the Kabuki suit or something like that.
And you got Yoshi. Is it Yoshi? Did he turn up in that one?
I don't know.
I can't remember. But
go on.
I remember playing this, and the controls were... You just could not control Mario. You could not control it. It had no distinct feel of jumping up there and getting across there and moving there. The controls worked, because the other games on that machine were Konami, a soccer game, international Konami football thing, which was good, and it worked, and I liked playing that. But I wanted to play Mario. Not the fact that, you know, once I get home I can play Mario, but I wanted to play it then, and I would not stop until I could actually play it. And I put maybe £2 into this thing, hoping that I'd be able to get it. And it was at one of them points that the arcade game had been left in the corner of the arcade, and that's where they go to die. They kind of... It was probably one of the main games, and it was at the entrance. And over the years, it slowly worked its way down towards the back booth. And in through the door where it was next to, there's all arcade machines which are going to die and are never seen again. And this thing was about 3 or 4 games up from that door, and there was 2 machines that were turned off that weren't even working there. And I enjoyed playing the football on it, but the Mario was just so disappointing. I couldn't control him, you know, for love nor money. It was so disappointing, to the point where I left maybe £1.50 in there. I told Kimmy to have a go of it. She had a little go. Was like, no, and walked off. And there was money in there, and we left it for an hour, and there was still money in there because nobody would venture down that end of the arcade.
No, there is a kind of weird no man's land, sort of Mad Max style in an arcade, isn't there? Where you kind of, once you get past the person handing out the change, you know it's either fruit machines or just shit that no one wants to play.
Yeah, that's where it was. Yeah, exactly. Oh, jeez.
See? Yeah, it's just that whole thing of only the cash strapped addicts will go down that far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But me being the dad, thinking, yeah, I can go do this.
Yeah. Oh man, I always stuck to the first 2 rows in an arcade, with the exception of the Brighton Pier. The first 2 rows of an arcade is kind of, that's your depth, especially somewhere like Margate, where you know that the good ones are at the front to lure you in. But I wouldn't go in that far. Well, I mean, we've only got 5 minutes on this thing.
Yeah.
On it. But I was going to just ask you, did you ever play Space Harrier?
Oh, it rings a bell. Hang on, to Google.
To Google, basically, I'll spare you. It was the first arcade machine which had the banking chairs kind of thing. The chair would bank and go left and right and all that kind of thing.
Okay.
And you were a guy who was almost holding onto a rocket under his arm. And you would have dragons and stuff come out at you. You'd fly over a checkerboard floor in proper 3D.
I recognise it. I've never played it, though.
It was dragons which were made up with like spheres with a dragon's face on it.
Yeah, I recognise it. I've never played it.
Oh, it's just because that was going to be my next thing, because it was like that suddenly heralded a whole new set of games, and they were all from Sega.
Okay.
There you go. Badger's just said the first best pneumatic seat game. Space Harrier.
Okay. Well, what do you want to do? Do you want to break for another 10 minutes?
If people are willing to listen and you're willing to record, I'm happy to take another 10-minute break while we reset our Mixler and come back for another time.
Okay. Well, what we'll do, we'll come off the air. We'll have a 10-minute break. Get teed up again.
We should have adverts.
It should do. Yeah, it's a perfect slot for them, isn't it? We'll get teed up again, come back, and then record, and then that will be the final part of this.
Right.
And if you made it this far, well done. I'm sure there's some good stuff coming up just around the corner.
I mean, you and me on a podcast, and it lasts 3 hours. Who the fuck would listen to one of those?
I know, crazy, isn't it?
Crazy. Just crazy.
What are people thinking? Right. I'll call a halt to these sessions, and then we'll be back in about 10 minutes.
Fire the albatross. And Slay Radio would just disappear off the face of the earth.
Ah, okay.
So I'm pretty sure that it's, yeah, it comes under fair use. There you go, Andy Pelastazzi said. See?
Oh, lovely.
See?
Okay, well, for people joining us late, this is the Shonky Lab. We're talking about arcades. This is Lee Metcalf.
Hello.
I am Elton McManus. You can listen to us on the Mixler, which is mixler.com/shonky-lab. And the players there, you can join the chat room, and you can also Skype in on us, which is Elton McManus, all one word.
Oh, it's technology like a radio station radioing out across the radio net.
I am spreading my wings. And in that little break, I was thinking, wouldn't it be good to have like a little Christmas gathering of everyone?
What?
Just on Mixler. Just have a little happy Christmas type thing, because we're getting into that sort of festive season, and I'm sure the next time I'm recording it's going to be in December, the way things are going at the moment.
A shonky Christmas lab.
Yeah, why not?
Wow. Yeah, I'm up for it. I mean, obviously I'm going to be reeling from the horrors of 4 weeks of Christmas on the Black Dog, but yeah.
Yeah, that might be a bit too much, I suppose. Maybe just have like a Blues January instead, where we're all just grumpy as...
Yeah. Yeah. Are you still eating your turkey? Is the name of the episode, and it'll be set in February.
And we've all got to eat roses and Quality Streets while we're recording.
Everyone's nicked the green triangles, bastards. The purple fudge diamonds.
Yeah.
Mism.
Okay, so where did we get up to on arcades?
I was doing my favourites. I did Gauntlet, and I was going to say Street Fighter, which I said about wanking injuries.
Yes, go on. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Street Fighter is that?
Street Fighter 2.
I get confused. Was Double Dragon an arcade machine?
Yes, it was.
It was, because that Street Fighter is a totally different game to Double Dragon, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I prefer the Double Dragon games.
Oh, get out!
Yeah, I do.
Really?
Yeah. I love Double Dragon.
See, I could never get into Double Dragon. I mean, I got into Turtles, but then that was during the 90s when Turtle Power was at its height. But games like that and Altered Beast just did nothing for me. It was like you only had, like, Jesus, 10 pixels up and down, and then the rest of it was just like standing there hoping that your punch would connect, and the punch would go through the bad guys if they were just too close.
Yeah, you kick their bottom, but you wouldn't actually kick their bottom.
No, exactly. Oh, and everyone's getting cross at me for not liking Double Dragon. Oh dear. Sorry, listeners. I'll just drink my drink.
Badger Sprite on the chat room says Double Dragon has reminded him of Golden Axe. The only time we could play, it was when the fair came to town. Wow. When do fairs still come to town? There we go, we're all back now. Welcome back to part 2 of the Shonky Lab, where we're talking about arcades.
Hey, we're back.
We just had a little musical interlude, which everyone else couldn't hear, because we'd probably get sued.
No.
Could we get sued for 8-bit music?
No, definitely not.
Are you sure?
Well, if you could, then radio stations that I listen to, like Remix 64. Yes. I mean, maybe not in your neck of the woods.
No,
but
they do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You get little arcades, little open air arcades. You don't tend to get the arcades in the sort of big they did in the 80s. They in the sort of wooden boxes. You don't get the big cabinets anymore. Come with the fairs. They tend to be more of the sort of shove penny things.
Right, okay.
You know those ones, those things which are always in the arcades where you put like a 2p in and then you got like sort of like the two platforms moving backwards and forwards and then it shunts them over the edge.
Yeah.
And yeah, you got a tiny hole which it lets the coins through, and if it falls either side, then it just goes into a box like saying, ha ha ha, fuck you.
I have a confession. And the good lady Boudoir are addicted to the 2p push machines.
Well, I tell you what, yeah, my kids are good because you can give them like £1 and it'll last them an hour. But there's a TV show where it's actually a